Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel again. Now I'm going to show you a project I just finished. It is about simulating the banking activity, or more specifically, commercial banking activity in Italy. But of course, the real world commercial banking activity in Italy is very complicated. You have many procedures, many policies, and many interactions at a team working level, system level, with client, with regulator, with third party. It is a very complicated ecosystem. So in this project, I just try to simulate a simplified version. Okay, I want to simulate some activities and check if the program will produce some sensible results. If you saw my other videos before, I have tried to use agentic workflow to discuss about the bank compliance work plan and policies. Here, I'm not integrating the agentic workflow because I just want to see, first of all, if ChatGPT and other model could help me to program something to build a foundation, to help me to simulate, to see if some of the functions could work, if this workflow could work with GPT-4o and the GPT-4O1 model. And in the future, I would try to integrate the agentic flow to make the simulation more precise or more comprehensive. So first of all, let's see here. I have the process listed here. First of all, I just prompt the 4O model for me to use a Python code to generate the daily operation of a bank. Of course, I specified we take the deposit of the client, make a payment for the client, we disperse a loan for the client, and we also do some foreign exchange transactions and so on. I just give a description. So if you want to apply the way I use for this project to other projects, for example, you want to simulate how a factory the factory accounting team would book different activities, you could utilize some of the ideas that I'm using here. Okay, so this framework, I start with a prompt with a description of the activities I want to simulate, could also be used in all other projects. And here, I would like you to pay attention. After saying what you want, after a brief description, this could be the best way to get the simulation results. Because like days ago, I tried the simulation. If I use GPT-4o1 model only, it will get complicated and not precise. It's like a generic orchestrating agent. You can see different thinking process, but when you go to the specific point, it is very computational intensive to complete a task or design a framework. But if you use 4O model or smaller models only, you can make a specific code chunk to work, but it lack the whole picture, the idea of the whole picture. So in the following process, you are going to see how both of them can work with each other. And again, like I said, this workflow or the starting point could be used in other projects. The interaction way of the different models could also be applied to other projects and also to the agentic workflow. For example, you have orchestrating specified for orchestrating model like 401. It is like the team leader. Smaller models like 4O and other models. I also use a 4O mini model to tackle some of the issues or debug some of the small problems. When they work together, you might get better results. This is the main idea. Okay, so now let's get back to the process of the prompt and the enhancement. Okay, like I said, the first step, I prompt for a model to get the process code. It cannot get a balanced booking records. So it can generate some random numbers like client 1 take a deposit of 100 euro in the bank and make a payment of 50 euro. It can generate, it's like every single line is a record and you have different random numbers assigned to it. It does not pay attention to the accounting side because at the accounting side, each booking, each operation, you need to have debit and credit balanced. Okay. After several trial, I test the model. It cannot give me the code, Python code to create balanced booking records. Then I tried the 401 model. As I said before, it struggled with detailed coding, and it might be more suitable for a small scale simulation. Not, I mean, like my simulation case, I think the banking activity already included many details. Maybe it's not suitable for it to actually get accurate coding results. Okay, it is good you have the thinking process, but it may, if our standard is to get a zero-shot result, give the prompt and the 401 will give us a workable plan and a code. It might still struggle. Then let's take a look at the next approach. From step 3, I take a different approach. First of all, I use 401 model after the iteration. Okay, I put it at the first point is that 401 model is still important, but I use it after the iteration with 4.0 model. So basically at here, I first enhance the prompt in 4.0 model, then I use the enhanced prompt in 4.1 model. And during the process of debugging and so on, for example, I get the results like all the generated booking ledgers, CSV files are empty, or I cannot see the booking records. Okay, I see only transaction items but no booking records, or I cannot balance the credit and the debit. So each time first of all, I tried 1 or 2 rounds to talk with 4.1 model. If it does not work, I go back to 4.1 model and I come back to 4.1. And in the next step, I still use the prompt enhancement with 4.1 model and to go back to 4.1 model to do several rounds of prompt result test. But here, I can also use the result of 4.1 model to 4.1 model to debug. The reason is that after several tests, I find that if I use 3 shots, like 3 times debugging using 4.1 model, it may not be as efficient as get a result from 4.01 and debug part of the code in 4.0 model. So I use this iterative process to put the 4.01 model result to 4.0 model to check to debug, use 4.0 model to generate Italian accounting rule list, and to check with the code generated by 4.1 model, because the complexity of 4.1 model is better than 4.0 model at some cases and more structured. Eventually, I also created an independent notebook to evaluate the accounting rules. So this process is going back and forth several times. During this iterative process, we can go back to 4.1 model to let it review some of the results generated. But always pay attention. As I said, the 4.1 model is better for orchestrating the whole picture, but the 4.0 model is more efficient to solve the individual problem or debug a code block. But if you still have the computational resource, you still have not yet reached the limit, you can try it. Okay. So I also ask the model to recheck the results. After all these iterations, I get preliminary results. It can simulate the booking record, validate the records, show some reports, build a database, and so on. I'm going to show you later with the latest version. Of course, the previous version, later I'm going to upload also in GitHub, so you can check the results. Just want to save your time. So what you can get from here is that you need to have an orchestrating model to work with a smaller model, more specific model. You need to think about the process and how to tackle each single bug. Do not rely on only one model, either in agentic flow or the current flow I'm showing you. Then I would say for this project, there are several possible improvements we can do. First of all, we can do agentic workflow with accounting rules and build a RAG system. So the agents can always quote the accounting rule and make better accounting decision. We can also design a robust database to handle the data management and report generation. Of course, in the production environment, this is the case, and this is a must condition, because the management of the database is a very complicated issue. Then we can also improve the generation of client, regulatory, accounting reports, along with audit capabilities. This would be a step to a approach a comprehensive simulation of the organizational information flow of a bank. We can also simulate a Swift message exchange. This is a more specific topic because Swift messages are used to make client payments, make banking institution communication. It will be very useful to use it, to simulate it, and you can also link it to some anti-money laundering screening system and so on. The last one is about some detailed logic. Although I already tried to use more models and also my personal expertise to make this program work, make this notebook work, however, there are still some logical designs we need to improve. Like there are still some FX discrepancy about booking side. It's small, but it may always let your financial report not balanced. With this enough said, let's go back to the project. So first of all, we have requirements file. You can use it directly to install the dependencies. If I miss something, just add here and run it in your notebook. Okay, and also make sure the requirements are in the same directory as your notebook. Okay, just for the organization purpose, make it more clear. I now put the latest successful results in this folder is test 8. First of all, let's see this notebook. So basically, I put everything inside of one code block. The reason is that during some iterations with GPT or the coding model, I find if we have so many independent blocks, it may not be easily to quickly move the code from here to another interface. But this is just my personal choice. You can also do it block by block if you prefer it to be clearer. And here is the version that I put all the annotations or the explanation of each single line. I'm just going to share with you the most important part. First of all, you can see here, the first function is to initialize the database. This design of database is very core for the banking operation. As you can see, GPT already does a very good job to design this database. But choosing Sqlite or other database is your choice. Okay. But the first thing you need to do is to initialize the database and to see if all the fields are matching your demand. Then, after initializing the database, we start inserting the clients and we keep connecting to the database file. And each time when we finish a change, we commit the change to the database. Then, about record ledger entries is the function where we insert the different information inside of this booking ledger. And here is the deposit function where we simulate the case where we put deposit to the client or from the client. And here, this function is withdraw function. Is client withdraw the money from the bank. As you can see, these two functions are very similar. And the important thing is that when you check this code, try to find their difference. So you have a similar rule to follow the sequence, but you also have some details that you need to pay attention. And here, you can see each booking either is deposit or withdraw. We need to connect to the bank nostril account and the client deposit account. If you are not a banking professional or you ever worked in a financial institution, do not worry. If you do not understand what is nostril account, you can simply check it. It is just in our system is like a booking sign which identifies our account opened in another financial institution. But I'm just going to focus on the code at the moment. You can just remember like this. This pair of booking actually happen to complete this transaction. Whenever you book a client deposit, you need to book also the nostril account. And here, simulate a 1 day operation. So I have a simulate 1 day function and also generate a daily ledger function. So in this function, you can see it actually retrieve the client's ID and the currency, get these results, and generate a random choice of different transactions with a random number and give a feedback of this transaction. And for the booking side, for the generate daily ledger, is actually to assign the accounting information to this transaction. And after the completion, we're going to have a CSV file, as you can see on the left hand side for every day. Then we simulate 1 month. So simulate 1 month will first of all identify the time span that we want to simulate for this whole project. Okay, it is called 1 month because I only want to simulate 1 month of activity. It will call this simulate 1 day function to generate an activity and to generate a daily ledger and do it one by one, day by day. Then we generate monthly reports using this function. As you can see, generating reports using Sqlite structure is, personally speaking, I think this is the easiest way to construct a report. And as I introduced at the beginning, have a very well organized database is very essential for your workflow design. So as you can see here, we have assets, liability, balance sheet. Okay, all these items should be generated in sequence. And you can also see here, we have a total debit, a total credit, and to check if they are balanced. Okay, just to give an idea if it is balanced. So a more robust way is that when it's not balanced, how do we make it balanced? I would suggest to, in the future, for example, if you want to improve this project, you may try to add an audit rule to audit the results, give suggestion, and let another agent to amend this booking record. That would make more sense. But for a prompt-based coding generation and the system design, I suppose there is a limit. We cannot go more detail because as you can see here, it is a very small problem considered compared to the whole project, right? It is to check if the ledgers are balanced and make correction. That would make the project more complicated and make the prompt more complicated. And I do not think for one model or for a model can handle for such a big project and considering only zero shot accuracy. But for agentic workflow, I think it may be achievable to design a role to audit the result and another one to give suggestion to change the record. Then we initialize this function. And we can also visualize the data, transaction distribution, client balance. Okay, and then we see the plot. Okay, let's see. This is a simplified version without many descriptions. Let's see the results. So basically, we see many debit credit summarization on daily basis, and how many entries of the booking was done at that day. But almost all the first several 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 records are not balanced. But it does not suggest a solution. This is the limit of this program at this moment. Then you see here, we start to see ledger is balanced. I would assume in this case, the booking logic is simpler than the others. For example, you just take a deposit and book both the client account and show account. Most simple case. You just get a balanced ledger. But whenever the transaction complicates, you cannot balance. Then, let's see here. Yeah, every day we have the booking records show. They will also have the financial report. It's nicely displayed, much better than my previous tests. Okay, we can have the both the balance sheet and also the income statement. But as you can see here, if you try to say asset equals liability plus equity, is not balanced. Okay, and also here for the net income. The net income part, luckily, the final result is correct because I double checked before, but the layout is not a traditional way. Because usually you don't see left-hand revenue, right-hand expense, and you calculate net income for each row. Not like this. It should be horizontally organized, and eventually we add some item, subtract item, get results. And also we have the cash flow. Right. Yeah. So in general, this report's layout at this stage looks okay. And also it calculated the capital adequacy ratio. Okay. Then we can see this transaction list. This is all about loan for the calculation of a capital adequacy ratio. Then we can see here the client ID, and I think this is their account balance. Okay, I think loan account balance here. Then we see the transaction type distribution. This is nice. We can understand how many transactions in each type. In a financial institution, usually if you see some change of the transaction type for the client or for the institution, is a very important signal for you to manage the operation more effectively. Then we see total debits and credits. This is much better than the previous version because in the previous version you can see there is a big gap between everyday total debit and total credits. So it means that the whole program is not very accurate. Eventually we can see the client balance shown in here and with names. Of course these names are simulated. So far so good. So basically we have all the ledgers simulated, we have the reports generated, and we see the graphs. Then let's see another file is checking the CSV file and the reports. As you can see here, we have two code blocks. The first code block is actually to check two daily ledgers, one large exposure report, balance sheet, income statement, suspicious transaction, and use a tab organized way to see the results. And let's see here. Try to run it again. Here we go. You can see all the ledgers are displayed. This is very close to the display of a commercial bank operation system. Okay, you see entry ID, you see the date, you see transaction ID, and you see the booking, one debit, one credit. Everything looks perfect. Then day 2, but always pay attention to the FX transaction because I suppose some of the discrepancy comes from here. Because whenever we are talking about FX transaction, not only that we change one currency to another one, we may also charge fees. Okay, like here we have the FX gain. We charge the fee or we have the margin of the exchange rate. But whenever you calculate this one, you need to have a currency tag. So at this moment, I do not have it, so there will be a discrepancy. For example, the whole debit sum and the credit sum of this transaction may not be equal. Large exposure, it shows some results. Monthly balance sheet looks okay at this moment, but as I said, it is not balanced. Monthly income statement, as I said, the format is wrong, but the result is okay. Suspicious transaction. I actually prompt to ask to create some simulated description for some client transaction where it seems suspicious. So we can put it in this table, report to the regulatory body, like in production case. But as you see here, the description is only about the direct nature of this transaction. We are not saying that this one is related to a political exposed person and so on to make it suspicious. So the simulation at this step is preliminary and not what we wanted. But here, from the tabs of the data checking, I think this is a good way for us to inspect the simulated data here. Then we can also open this bank simulation database. This is a database file actually created by Sqlite. We see in this database it is organized quite good. Okay, we can see the database format, and we can also see this data frame format to understand the client balance. Okay, we have as you can see, this program simulates different clients, account type, currency, and balance. So looks okay. I do encourage you to try to apply this to your own use case and simulate the operational workflow of any organization or any type of workflow you want to simulate. Okay. At this moment, we do not have agents. We only have a prompt technique working with different large language model, improve the coding results iteratively, find ways to interpret the result, and eventually have this initial program working. But again, take a look at the general flow. I prompt for model a lot of times, do not get a good result. I prompt to 401 model. I realize it is more suitable to get a zero-shot result for short scale model. Then I enhance my prompt with the 401 model, go back to 401 model to build a more robust structure. Then I iterate each single issue with 4.0 and 4.1 model. The choice of debugging in 401 model or 401 model is totally based on you. If you want to debug a single block, code block, better use 4.0. But if the context grows longer, you want to still keep in track with the previous records, you need to use 401 model. But always make sure that large language model do not shorten your code, do not alter your logic. Make sure that they are always in line with your design. So in this process, I debugged some issues. And then I did a further prompt enhancement with 4.0 model, incorporate the latest 4.1 results, generate relevant context with Italian counting rules. It is kind of a manual rag. And I also thought about a way to evaluate the notebook based on the counting rules. So we further enhance the results. Then we review the results also with the 4.1 model, and eventually we get this final program working. So we can see the booking records and also see the validation. Okay, validation is a separate notebook. As I said before, the possible enhancements, there are many, and I think this could be a good start. I wish you like this video. If you have any question, feel free to leave a comment. If you like this program, feel free to utilize it in your use case. If you like any of the contents in my channel, feel free to subscribe, and see you next time. Bye bye.